Hi, I'm Roberta. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm here today with my friend David Thompson, who has taught me over many years how important it is to make a curry paste from scratch.
And then I'm going to tell you why you don't need to.
But we're going to start by showing you how to do it from scratch if you want to, because he likes to be torturous.
I don't wish to be torturous, ladies and gentlemen, but I do what I'm told, and I'm under the rules and reign of Roberta.
So, Chef, if we were making a Thai green curry paste from scratch, what would we do?
I would get you to make it.
Fine.
So we need to add a chili. So you can make a massive amount of curry paste if you wish. And we used to make quite a lot in the old days, but really for home you just need 1 plate or 2 plates and no more than that, which is basically 1 portion, enough for 2 or 3 people. But you can stretch it, because you see, the thing is with Thai food, you have one size curry, but then if there's more people coming for dinner, you add more plates of
more
other
dishes.
Yes.
Okay.
So Roberta, you asked me before, how do I make a curry paste? Well, the best way to make a curry paste, ladies and gentlemen, is to get somebody else to do it, which is what I shall be doing. Roberta, we'll start your engines, but what we need to do, you can take some refined people take the chili, the seeds out of the chilies, and you can do that. It's very hard to pound up these seeds, as you'll find out in a moment. And you can take these out and you can add more of the green chilies, which allows you to add more chili.
More chili flavour.
Yes, more of the chili meat, which contains the flavour that you want. But you do lose out on some of the heat, so consequently, if you do so, you need to add more. You need to add more green chilies, and we'll do just that.
We're taking the seeds out of these?
Oh no, don't
leave a few.
Yeah, leave a few. Let's go rustic a bit. So I've added just almost 2 chilies, because it depends. You add as much as you want, quite frankly. If you want a spicier curry, add more of the fuckers.
A little salt to make it
You do need
abrasive,
that, but before we do that, abrasive.
You? Abrasive?
Let's put the salt in. Let's rub salt into the wound, shall we? Now, see what I'm doing with these ones here. I am leaving the, what's it called? Gosh, I used to know its name. Come on, you're the clever
No,
person.
I'm not a horticulturist, but I know what you mean. The very
bud.
tip.
It's where the bud comes in, and not the stalk.
The bud. That's a good way of putting it.
It's asperges. The asperger of the chili.
So we cut the stalk off, but we leave the bud in.
We do.
Okay.
And so you can add 1 or 2. So now what we'll do is we'll add some salt. The thing is that the salt acts not only as an abrasive, but as a preservative too, and a seasoning component. So if you put quite a bit of salt in, the curry paste will last longer. The problem with many commercially prepared curry pastes is that they add up to 10% salt in order to allow it to last unrefrigerated, and that's a bit of a problem, not only for your kidneys, but also it doesn't allow much room for seasoning later on.
No.
And it just has a overwhelmingly salty flavour, and you lose out on all the aromatics, which is squashed and suppressed underneath that rule of salt.
All the other nuances.
Indeed. Pinch of salt.
Pinch of salt.
Yep, pound. And so what you do is, see how I'm holding my finger, my pestle, just like that.
Yes.
It allows me to pound, and also I'm increasing the area that is being pounded. You can see all those seeds that are breaking up. That's just going to be a really difficult process for you to pulverise.
Thank you.
And now we'll add some Galangal. Now, the older the Galangal, the better. Excuse me. The older the Galangal, the better it is for the purposes of a curry paste, because it's stronger. So add a little bit of Galangal, not much. Peel it. Some bad housewives don't peel their Galangal, and very often commercial curry pastes don't either. And but it makes a huge difference to the taste. I think the recipe calls for about a tablespoon. This is roughly a tablespoon's worth. In, and start to do your tasks, your deed. Kiddies, pound. And so as you pound and as you add your ingredients, almost instantly you can begin to smell the increased aromas, or rather the layers of aromas that occur as a consequence of adding ingredient by ingredient. And very often the way that you make a real curry paste is you sniff your way through.
Right.
Because Thai recipes are nebulous as trying to define the cuisine itself. And so you chase the taste.
Or the aroma.
Yes, which is the same as taste, isn't it really? It just depends upon the organ of perception.
Fair enough.
And so you're chasing that, and you do whatever it needs to get to that taste that you remember. And because Thai food was taught like by rote virtually, you almost were inculcated with the aromas, because you learned from a very early age of how to cook. And also cooking was happening all the time in the house, so consequently you grew up with those aromas and tastes. So they become embedded in the memory in such a deep way that it's, you know what you like.
What it should smell like.
And that's often why Thai food is so conservative. Indeed, most old cuisines are conservative, because growing up with it, it's a deeply embedded, ingrained memory that is hard to resolve and hard to shift. And so that's why taste is so conservative. All cuisines are so conservative in many ways. It's only in the shadow, or rather in the modern world, mainly the English-speaking world, that you have those innovations, which can be quite exciting, but are not based upon deep memories. They're based upon innovation and upon speculation from a different part of the brain.
Very good.
And that's how you peel your lime.
So kaffir lime zest, we rarely use the juice or the fruit.
You can use the juice in some salads and a few other things, but what you need to do is do not use any of the white piece.
Right.
Because it's as bitter as sin without its delicious flavour. Of course you could use a peeler, but like those old memories, I'm a creature of habit too. And so we're just slicing off all that pith. And like rinsing rice, where you wash off all the chalk and all the dust that's on the rice, so in all your preparation you need to take it down to where it should be, and cutting corners means you cut on the taste and on the elegance of taste too.
So I imagine this one would be hard to pound up. We want to cut it as finely as possible.
Anything, you want to reduce your time banging away at the pestle and mortar, and so consequently you often just cut things up. It saves an enormous amount of time. Same with your lemongrass too. Let me just wipe the brush. Same with your lemongrass too. So with this, what you need to do is just cut it, peel it, and the roots and the stalks and whatever remains, slice that up a little bit and makes the most wonderful lemongrass tea.
Just boiling water?
Yep. And as it sits there, let it cool down, it becomes sweet.
Ooh.
It's delicious. And if you don't want that, you pour it on your plants and it gets rid of aphids and other things.
Aren't you a wealth of knowledge?
Ain't I just? You don't want to waste anything. But you don't want to put chaff and fibre into your curry paste either. So peeling it down like this.
And then all of these bits we're making lemongrass tea.
Indeed.
Or killing the aphids.
Or whatever else. Good for shampoo as well.
There you go.
Particularly with your kaffir lime zest. So we see how we're taking that down? This bloody Australian lemongrass of yours is too thick.
Right.
Bloody.
I have some growing in the garden. It might be
well, no, that's bloody Australian still, isn't it?
Oh, true.
So, now this is what I'm doing, which saves a lot of time. Cutting it up like that into various pieces. And see, so it's like that. And so when I slice it, it's going to be much easier. The other thing is, if you're making a satay or grilling any meat, you can dip it in the oil and use this as a natural brush, which allows you to perfume at the same time. My old grandmother's coming out, my old Thai grandmother, as you can see. So I'm just slicing a little bit more. And see how it just becomes so much easier to use. So again, it's just like, if you do your prep, it makes your life easier.
Always. And once we've made this curry paste, how long can we keep it for?
with that amount of salt that we've put in, refrigerated and cartouched or put into an airtight container, probably for a week.
Oh, really? Okay.
Pound. Let your hand relax a little bit. Keep on pounding.
So the garlic does crush up quite easily,
and
doesn't
so
it?
that's why you do that. The other thing that you must do as well is to make sure that each item is quite well pounded before you incorporate the next. Otherwise, you get the texture that's in there that's a bit rough and a bit crude. And whilst it's not too bad for a jungle curry or for a curry of the provinces, and sometimes you do need that texture in there and it's desirable, when we're in the more urbane areas of Bangkok, it needs to be smooth and silky.
And refined.
Just like us.
Just like this. Now, when you talk about one shallot,
yes, well,
can we call this 2 shallots?
I'd call it even 3.
Right, okay.
Because you see in Thailand your shallots are...
Right, okay, so we need to
Yeah,
work.
so-
That's where your tablespoon measurements are handy.
Correct, because you see, or you can go weight, but I always go by volume. I'm an old grandmother.
Yep, no, I like volume.
And so you can just grasp what you need without having to weigh it, without having to do all that. It's not technical stuff, but food like this is not so precise that it has to be scaled. You use your eyes, you use your knowledge, you use your memory, and you use the ingredients that are in front of you. So just as you're smelling now, as you add, you'll work out exactly what you need. Now, Australian shallots are much bigger, but they're also much more sharper in taste. And they're not dried normally, where they're hung for a little while,
right.
and becomes a little bit more mellow. So these you'll probably use 1 tablespoon, whereas in Thailand you probably use 2 tablespoons. And so there is that implicit, the necessary change in amounts used, but because you're using your nose in the main, you should be at least, that's what guides you.
Right.
And it sounds so daunting and so fucking stupid at times, but in fact, after you make it once or twice, you start to instinctively know that, because you can do, and you follow conventions, which are, for Thais at least, almost part of the genes, the genetic makeup, and to arrive at a similar taste. But there's always going to be, as you say, those nuances, those differences, those slight differences that show the personality of the cook. And after all, good cooking is about investing yourself into the taste as well, and arriving at the taste that you want. Not what I want necessarily, though you should do and follow my bloody recipes to the letter.
Thank you, chef.
Otherwise, you'll be awash and a miss. But after you've done it once or twice, with rebellious aplomb, cast it aside and make your own.
Very good.
So that's what you'll do. Is that mess yours?
That mess is mine, chef.
Shallots are a little bit more difficult to pound up than you'd think. You see how that garlic has almost completely disappeared? Mm-hmm. The shallots take just that little bit longer.
Not so much.
Now add that. It's fresh turmeric, and look at the colour. It just transforms it immediately once you pound it properly. Counterintuitively, this makes the curry more green.
Oh.
And you'll see that as we work it in. As you can see, this is coming up to, well, you've got a bit of work to do. But now we'll add a coriander root. Now see how I'm doing this? I'm peeling it. I'm just peeling the skin just a little bit. And like taking the pith off the...
Kaffir lime.
Thank you. It just means that I should slice there. Add that. Just a little bit of the green helps. Add that. I think I'll add a little bit more. Do you know what I would do with all these scraps that are on here? I would put it into water, leave it stand for a day, and then use it to water your plants. Because all the nutrients and all the things in there help your plants enormously.
We have lots of plants. We'll
You
do.
do. Okay. This is guppy. which is the soul of Thai cooking, but it's a murky soul. It's a soul that smells like a homeless old man.
Right. Yep, smells like the homeless old man I know.
I refrain from comment.
So how do we make it smell better, Chef?
You roast it as well, because that begins to refine the taste. And instead of roasting it, you see how I'm putting in quite a lot of oil? You can put it up, just a heavy pan on there, and you can just toast it. Fine.
Shall I do that for you, Chef?
Toast away. And so, what Thais would often just wrap it in a banana leaf and then just on a charcoal grill, and it's a nice way to perfume. But unless you've got a charcoal grill at the ready and a banana leaf nearby, you can just wrap it in foil and toast it. But put it into a heavy pan, because often lighter pans just can't survive that 5 minutes or so of dry heat on a medium high heat.
And we turn it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because what you want to do is to toast it, not char it.
Okay.
And sometimes I like to, depending on the curry, I like to actually have it toasted quite heavily, almost just beginning to char, because it's almost like burning, you know, when you burn a chocolate cake, the taste is much better.
When you caramelise onions,
Yes.
it's that caramelisation.
Yes, 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 yes.
And we need to toast our spices
We
as
do,
well, correct?
indeed, but they have to be done separately.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to toast the white peppercorns, but the coriander seed, yes, and the cumin seed as well.
Okay.
And they toast at different times, so consequently they must be done separately. Okay, keep it going. The next thing that I'll add is some of the toasted guppy. And so it's gone from an old man to something that's almost edible.
Almost. It smells a lot better than it did before.
It couldn't help it.
True, true.
I'm just putting a small amount in, so give that. It is the salt, it anchors things. Mix that in and keep pounding. A little bit of white peppercorn. This doesn't need to be roasted. A little bit of toasted coriander seed. Not too much. And a little bit of cumin seed as well. And that completes, always much less cumin seed than coriander seed, because what you want is it's the balance. And Thais use spices gingerly, and they'll use it in Muslim curries or gengaris, which are they literally say gang dang pratet, which means a foreigner's curry, and they did come in through the Muslims from the south and worked their way up into Bangkok and the Siamese repertoire, and now they're firm favourites. You can smell these aromas, can't you, as they begin to emanate, and each stage there's an increasing complexity, a layering as it were. But here's the interesting thing: when you cook it, you get the reverse. So you get the wet ingredients that begin to cook first, because it's the water that begins to evaporate. So you smell your shallots, then you smell your drier ingredients, your cumin, your coriander seed, and then your lemongrass and galangal. And finally, when you get to that chili galangal lemongrass aroma, you know that it's probably there.
Right.
But depending on what type of curry you're cooking, just like the texture of your curry paste, sometimes you want it rude and rough, and sometimes you just dissolve it. It takes a few seconds. Sometimes you will fry it off just for mere moments, like in a jungle curry, where you want the aggressiveness of a raw curry biting, snarling back at you. And other times you want a little bit more refinement, say with a green curry cooked out with beef or with coconut cream, that needs that svelte, sophisticated, suave element to it. And so you cook that for longer. And so again, it's all circumstantial, and you must know what you're aiming for
Before you start out.
Before you start out, and you follow that memory, that aroma, that whiff of taste, of flavour, of memory, and of aroma, and that they all coalesce into a recipe that's rather difficult unless you understand it and have done it a few times. And that's the daunting side, until you've done it once or twice, and it becomes immediately obvious as you begin to cook of how it works, because it's in your face, literally.
Literally.
You've got a bit more pounding to do. So I've left Roberta to pound away, and let's see how well she's done.
I did my best, Chef.
It's not too bad, but You've done a curry paste that looks rather like a housewife in the more remoter jungle areas.
Not refined and urbane.
Nowhere near it.
Okay.
Not within spitting distance.
Right.
However, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'm just trying to mock you because it's a pleasure to see you after all these years and take the piss out of you. So you can see it's a little bit rough and you need to pound more, but it can take a while. If you had cut up your shallots a little bit more and your...
You mean if you had cut up my shallots a little bit more?
I think when you go back you'll find that you're cutting them up. And so on, you get less thingers, less texture. And now, if this were a jungle curry out where you live, then this is perfect. But it needs just a little bit more to reach the refinedness of a Bangkokian curry. And then what you do is you'd be cooking it out to make a green curry. If this were a jungle curry, this would be absolutely perfect because you'd get not only the unified flavour, but you'd also get chunks of the original ingredient itself, or chunks, just tidbits, which would augment, or you'd get jolts of that too. And so Thai food can be immensely playful, sprightly even, because of the pungent ingredients that can be employed in so many ways.
Now, if we were to cook this out, the next thing we need to do is make coconut milk. Is that correct?
Coconut cream.
Coconut cream. So we need to get a coconut.
Smash it within an inch of its life, scrape out the meat, grind it up and then press it. It's a simple process, but it's laborious.
You know, you can get it in cans.
Leave the set now.
So, once we've spent half an hour at least pounding up our curry paste.
20 minutes if you're actually a good pounder.
If you're a good pounder. Then we're going to get our coconuts, we're going to crack them, we're going to grate them, we're going to mix them with water and squeeze them.
Or you could make a jungle curry, and a jungle curry is defined as a curry without coconut cream. So you could use a little bit of fat, fry that off, and then add some water or some stock.
Or, here's one I prepared earlier. Tell me about this one.
Here's one I prepared earlier. How can I say it? Because I feel embarrassed about plugging all this stuff, but you forced me to do it. As one gets older, one gets kinder, normally.
Thank God.
And less demanding in some ways, or more understanding. And so consequently, I used to, as I moved back to Bangkok and as various restaurants started up, I started to produce my own curry paste out of Bangkok, using stone pestles and mortars, or rather stone wheels, to grind up the stuff to try and get the proper taste. And I was doing that, and then the idea of putting these onto the retail market came into my head like an idiot. And then I was talking to various people, and the problem was that if these went to retail, I couldn't control the coconut cream or the fish sauce or palm sugar or whatever seasoning components it might be employed, because of course the paste works, but that's only one part of making a curry. And in order to provide a well-founded curry, a good curry, you need all the other components too. And I wrestled with the idea. I can't tell you how often I tossed and turned at night, trying to jump over the hurdle of insisting that you make everything yourself.
As you've always done.
As I've done ad nauseum. And so I jumped the hurdle and thought, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I need to use all fresh ingredients and not approach it like a cook. I was an idiot to do that, really, because the whole industrial process or commercial process of doing curry paste in the factory is an entirely different language. And so it was like putting, it was like that classic mistake that was done in space, where once the Americans put all of their instruments in imperial form, in inches and feet, and the Soviets did it in metric form, and so they could not connect.
Right.
Same with this type of stuff, same with the recipe for this. We went through great hardship to try and use everything, because I still was insistent, at least from my point of view, to give the customer the best. So we've cooked out some curry paste that's been pounded sufficiently. You weren't there. We cooked it out in fresh coconut cream with some palm sugar and fish sauce, and retorted it, which means like cooking it in a sack. So it means that we can now send it out to our respective restaurants curry paste that are cooked out, that reduces labour and that gives consistency. And that then led me on to the retail element as well, which allows us to anybody to open a satchel at home and cook a curry paste with some degree of success, with some degree of authenticity, some degree of fidelity of flavour, although it breaks my principle of breaking your back while you cook. There's a different colour here because this has got coconut cream in there, which you can see is still, this has just come out of the fridge, which you can see is still solid. And once this melts, you get the separation as you do from a regular green curry.
So it cracks?
Yes, it separates. And so that was one thing I insisted on. Every manufacturer puts emulsifiers in there to prevent it from cracking.
So it doesn't crack?
And so they looked, but the people that were with me, the factory owners and so on, where we did this, looked at me as if I was insane. And I understand why, because it's absolute madness to try and put this in and to have some qualities that are consistent with a home cook, and to do it on a commercial degree, and put it through a commercial process. So we managed it after about a year and a half of trial and error, sweat, blood and tears, and, shall I say, scurrilous language.
So what we have here is
this cooked out with coconut cream.
And seasoned? And
seasoned with good fish sauce and good palm sugar where necessary, and all you do is just add some water to it.
And did you tell me that some of these ingredients are organic?
They're all organic now.
All
yeah,
organic.
I'm getting down to organic stage because you see the other thing about this is that there's no preservatives in this curry. There is vitamin E, but it's naturally extracted vitamin E, because the thing was that in order to get to a commercial stage, it needs to keep for at least 18 months. And this has to keep for 18 months unrefrigerated. And so it's in that little sack that's sealed. The moment you open it, it lasts for about 3 or 4 weeks. But before you open it, it can last up to 18 months. And we've done a longevity test, which was great until we reached the end of the longevity test. And by the end of it, it was a bit rank. But at the first time we did it, it lasted for 8 months without any chemicals whatsoever. None. And I was delighted with that because I thought I'd stretched time to a degree that even a retailer would like. But I was wrong, because the distributors don't like that. And so they wanted 18 months, and I was perplexed, I was bewildered, I was sweating and I was cursing about what I could do, because I did not want to compromise the principle of no chemicals. And then a friend of mine came up with a genius idea. She suggested some naturally extracted vitamin E.
Which and it took it from 8 months to
18 months.
18,
yes.
Wow.
And even though it's an additive, it's a naturally extracted vitamin
Sure.
E, and so I can live with that. I know that it's a little cheating, but it's not as much cheating. It's fudging rather than cheating. It's a white lie. No, it's a green curry lie.
So you can make a green curry paste if you wish.
Roughly.
Or in your kit, if you're getting our recipe kit, we're going to give you some of David's green curry paste. Now this is not available at retail yet. We're not trying to sell it. It is available for food service, but I'm going to get some big pouches and pack it down into single portion sizes. And then people can decide which one they'd rather do.
Yes, indeed, because whilst you have a little bit of that, you've always got this recipe to play with.
Exactly.
And it's at your own choice.
And if you want to crack coconuts, or if you want to use canned coconut milk, I won't tell him. Happy curry making.
I'll be watching.